Hello, my name is Jeff Deck. Welcome to the first of my fake fireside readings. I'm doing this first reading as a do-over of a reading I did on Instagram Live a couple nights ago because the video seems to be trapped within Instagram Live. So this one's going to go on YouTube. So I'm going to be reading from this book, The Pseudo-Chronicles of Mark Huntley. It's a supernatural thriller set in DC in the year 2004. And what I'd like to read to you for this first reading is the foreword, along with the first two chapters proper. And the foreword is from the viewpoint of a different character than the title character, Mark. So we're going to start out with a different voice and then go on to our main character's voice. Foreword. From Redacted at Redacted. To all. Subject, read this. Date, December 16th, 2004. Dear everyone, they took his blog down, but he had a backup. Now I'm putting this thing all over the net. Well, we still have one. Don't have much time here. You know the country's gone to shit. What you don't know is how it happened. Here's a hint. It wasn't terrorists. That's not what we were. God, my head. All those people who died, they were monsters and they had human faces. They were shitting you. We were not terrorists. We did you a favor, and I need to explain how and why. But the problem is, there are more monsters out there. A lot more. They're looking for us. Mark's gone, and I haven't finished the job. We're halfway there, but it's too big for just us. I need your help. Shut. So I'm throwing his whole blog on here. There's some personal stuff mixed in with the stuff you need to know. But I don't have time to go through and decide what's relevant, what's not. I'm not like an editor. I'm just don't know what I am anymore. Face in the mirror doesn't look like my face. Not really. Shit. Time up. Please read and follow instructions at the end. Then watch the attached video. Some of them will read this too, I'm sure, but fuck them. Don't trust anyone without a family. That's a giveaway right there. Anybody put something funny in your head when they're around? It's another thing to watch for. Shut up. I need to finish. Shit. None of this is going to make sense. I can't make it make sense. You need to read through his blog to understand how we got here. Then you need to help us. They're going to make you into slaves if you don't. Please. Mark would have wanted this. Signed, ND. Wednesday, September 1st, 2004. The beginning and an ending. My name is Mark Huntley, and I've broken up with the most beautiful woman I will ever date. Okay, so the former is not true. And the latter is really only speculation, but I'm trying to be realistic here. Adonis, I am not. I'm not going to use my real name in this journal. Not because I'm ashamed of it or myself, though maybe I should be, but so I can continue earning my daily bread and forgive my debts as I'll forgive my debtors, and so on, amen. And so the aforementioned beautiful woman can continue earning hers as well. Let's call her Lucy Feigersalt, by the way. I'm getting ahead of myself already. I guess that happens when you rant. Backing up. There, now, there's a good storyteller. You want to know who this Mark Huntley is, i.e. what he does. And you'll be disappointed to learn that I'm just another rudderless idiot, half-assing his way through the first couple years after college. To be more specific, I'm a fact-checker not so extraordinaire at a weekly political magazine in downtown Washington, D.C. Do I actually care about politics? Well, that's where the half-assery comes into play. You can imagine it's kind of a sensitive climate here in Cap City. Therefore, it's a good idea to cloak both oneself and one's employer. I'm not going to give away the particular ideological bent for this mag either. The less clues, the better. Where I work is just an incidental detail anyway. I don't plan on any juicy work exposés in this journal. In fact, it's safe to say that if there's anything titillating going on at work, I'm not part of it. Henceforth, I'll just call the mag I work for the U.S. Divide. Seems appropriate for this day and age. I live in D.C. proper, in the general area of DuPont Circle. I'll even give you a zip code, 20005. For those of you not familiar with Washington, DuPont is a business meets boho area in the center of the city that gets away with gouging every last one of its residents. That's right, a jab in the sensitive spot, the money pouch. But access to beer is plentiful and unparalleled. Currently, I'm going poorer and hungrier by the month and living in an apartment without a bedroom. There's a kitchen, though, and a bathroom. I should count myself lucky to have even those amenities, given my humiliating salary and all. Oh, and more than one window. How could I forget that part? 2 whole windows for Mr. Mark Huntley to call his own. And I haven't really gotten back to the beginning of this, have I? Well, anyway, she knew I wanted to talk. She knew it was coming, I'm sure. We were at Solitai 2 nights ago on P Street, just off the Circle. Lucy had gone through a grueling rehearsal that day for a certain 50s-era play going up in 3 weeks at a famous D.C. theater. This vagueness is going to drive you mad, isn't it? Sorry. Partway through dinner, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I said my piece, and Lucy nodded, and when I was done, she just said, I understand. I don't want you to think that I haven't, I started to say, to sputter even. She cut me off. Mark, it's fine. Thanks for leveling with me, finally. And we just sat there and kept drinking our singas and finished our food, and that was it. And granted, no relationship ends that abruptly. There's always a time of pulling away. I had mine for a good couple of weeks leading up to that anticlimactic exchange over dinner. Now, I loved being with her, but a part of me always dreaded it too. I hated what I'd apparently become, or loathed. That might be an even better word for it. I guess what I mean to say is that it was causing a split in me, a disconnect. We're each supposed to be the hero of our own story, and my actions were about as unheroic as they come. What did that make me? The antagonist in someone else's story? Of course, I might be fooling myself, only retroactively thinking in these high-minded terms. I wonder sometimes if it was because she never shut up about her husband. Back to glue my sink. Next I'll have to figure out why I have this urge to broadcast it to the world. Maybe talking to you, reader, feels a bit healthier than talking to the miller in my hand here in the apartment. Or maybe it's just to distract me from looking out one of my 2 windows at a night that seems to be looking back at me. Posted by Mark Huntley at 11:57 p.m. Let's do one more entry from Mark's journal, or his blog rather. Thursday, September 2nd, 2004, Stepping on Toes. I don't want to give a bad impression of Lucy, as I may have towards the end of my first super uplifting entry. Some background info then. The short, unhappy marriage that made Lucy Feiger into Lucy Feiger-Zalt has lasted only 3 months and shows little hope of reaching number 4. Her husband, Anton, because I think that name should be used more often, an ambitious gentleman of 49, decided not long after the wedding that, well, maybe he wasn't ready for this whole connubial thing after all. He turned cold. He withdrew. He started wondering aloud whether sexual desire wasn't just a distraction from more important pursuits. And his 25-year-old bride was left with little to do but wonder what the hell happened. Had they rushed into things? Had she been too cloying? Not cloying enough? Maybe she had stepped on his toes a few times without realizing it. Though not very tall, Lucy does have oddly large feet. I was adrift at the time, too. I'd only been at the Divide for a couple of months after my last job, an assistant editorship at a mag for an association, read, lobby. Didn't work out. Read was a complete disaster. I couldn't get myself to care about the Divide or anything else. I was wondering every day whether I was headed straight for mid-20s nobody purgatory. Why the fuck did I major in journalism? And then fate tosses me this witty, blonde-bobbed, unhappy cyclone of a girl who I connect with and who, after that first drunken night, makes me think, well, I can live a little damnation. It has to be better than purgatory. Better to feel those flames than to feel nothing at all. Or, I feel like you're judging me as you're reading this, John Q. Anonymous. What would you have done? Okay, I promised myself to stop obsessing over this, to just let it rest. If not for my mental well-being, then at least to keep from being so tiresome, which is the usual outcome of stubborn emotional wallowing. Doesn't the world have too many tiresome people already? Lucy would probably be bored by all this. There is more to the world of Mark anyhow. September is showing signs of fall already. I noticed less irritating heat today than usual. I'll be glad for the remains of summer to be banished altogether here in the capital swampland. Any day now. Today was a start. Oh, and you should find this entertaining, if only to see Lord Tiresome knocked down by a peg. Or rather, knocked down, period. I was out for a walk this afternoon around Embassy Row when I should have been working, musing to myself about how odd it was that in the capital city of the most powerful nation in the world, another country's official presence could be limited to just a house. Although some of those houses are pretty handsome. I'm looking at you, Cyprus. So I wasn't paying attention when a guy just rammed into me. Next thing I knew, I was on my back, my glasses flung to parts unknown, and this dude was picking himself up off me and he's mumbling apologies that I could tell he didn't mean. And I've got this overwhelming smell in my nose of chlorine, as if he just came from a dip in some embassy pool. Listen, I wasn't paying attention either, I said as I picked myself up. But can you help me find my glasses? Mr. Pool Party said sure, and bent down and handed them to me. But gingerly, as if he didn't want to touch me by accident while doing so. Which is funny, since he already violated my space in just about the most aggressive way possible. I popped my glasses, unbroken, though thankfully still in one piece, though a little bit bent. Popped them back on my face, and then I saw why the chlorine smell didn't make sense. For one, the guy was perfectly dry. For another, he was dressed in a nice gray business suit, like many of the other people out and about this neighborhood. Before I could ask him about this new killer trend of chlorine perfume, the guy was already bounding away and getting back up to his previous acceleration, heading off on whatever important errand occupied the time of suits like him. And I was back on my feet, thinking how much more I enjoyed the scenery from right side up. In spite of that incident, I'm going to count today as a good day, because I heard from my friend Rents Robichaux, not his real name, but close enough, from back home in New England. We went to junior high and high school together, but we haven't kept in consistent touch since then. Right now, Rents is working for an insurance company as an underwriter in Natick, Mass, and hating every minute of it. I told him it never seemed like his style in the first place. He's too much of a free spirit to be chained under fluorescence for very long. Now, I, on the other hand, can apparently tolerate long hours in the realm of the mundane. The trick is to turn off your mind, of course. I only alluded to the Lucy saga to him, not wanting to get into it. But that was fine because Rents did most of the talking anyway, just like the old days. And I let him go ahead and entertain me, also just like the old days, particularly when he went into his Man of a Thousand Voices routine. Today's roles, John Kerry, George W., Rents' boss, and for some reason, Janet Reno. Rents, being in the mood for escape, brought up a few ideas for weekend adventures, places we can meet up: Chicago, New York, Atlantic City. But I had to decline for budgetary reasons. Well, time to tuck in for the night. My right eye started bothering me tonight. Not hurting exactly, but it seems like there's a small blurry spot on that side when I look through my glasses. Maybe just tiredness. I promise less complaints and more fiber tomorrow. Posted by Mark Huntley at 11:45 p.m. So that is it for our first reading. If you like what you've been hearing, you can buy me a coffee or check out my books at the links in my Instagram bio, or check out the links in the description of the YouTube video. And I We'll see you next time. Thank you.